Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Affordable Rental Housing Division monthly partner call. We will get started in just a moment. All right, welcome everyone. Okay, go ahead and get started here. My name's Kim Travis. I'm the engagement coordinator for the Affordable Rental Housing Division and helping to facilitate this meeting today with you all, and happy to have you here on December 2nd. Time is flying by. Hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving break, and wanted to just get started. As a reminder, we use process agreements for an inclusive environment at OHCS, and so I'm just going to share my screen really quick as a reminder for this meeting today. Right. Just, okay. And with your help, we can foster an inclusive environment here. Stay engaged, speak your truth responsibly, listen to understand, be willing to do things differently and experience discomfort, and expect and accept non-closure. So again, we just offer those. We practice those process agreements with our teams, and appreciate you all with practicing with us as well. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to Natasha.
Oh, I was looking for my mute button and I wasn't muted. So, hello, everybody. Natasha Detweiler Davy, she, her pronouns, Director, Affordable Rental Housing. Thanks for being here this afternoon. And so basically what we wanted to cover in broad strokes is our Housing Stability Council agenda and what we have put into the packet way back when, before Thanksgiving, which feels a little more distant than, than normal, but we did our packet submitted. And so I don't think that I see Roberto here, but okay, yeah, he's messaged me that I will cover the transaction side of things. So for our Housing Facility Council packet, and hopefully everybody knows where to find that, but maybe we'll just stick the link underneath this AI assistant. So for our Housing Stability Council packet, which is councils this Friday, we have a slate of ORCA recommendations associated with largely a mix of preservation, new construction recommendations coming out of the ORCA, and including mobile home park preservation. So we will be bringing those, I think it's 8 or 9 projects through on Friday. We will also be including in our, I guess first, in connection with the ORCA, we've also been working, the team has been working on detailed information to be able to provide everybody around the wait list and how that works right now as we're bringing projects through, where there's resources available and set aside that can match the projects that we have. We're bringing them forward, and otherwise we are building and investing in a wait list of projects that have been determined to meet standards, but where the resources are not currently available to meet those projects needs. So really working and operating from a place of that wait list. I'm thinking that later this week we'll send out an advisory which has much deeper information around all of that. So stay tuned for more. I think generally, when the application is fully submitted is the time the kind of timestamp for for that wait list. And we've really unpacked a lot of the questions that we've been getting from individual project teams and others around kind of the impact of the wait list and your particular projects and how that is all handled. So have kind of built a more comprehensive information that we will be sharing, and I'm certainly interested in having additional conversations and seeing what other questions come up as that is circulated. So that should be coming out this week before Housing Stability Council. We are also the other agenda item on our big agenda item on our Housing Stability Council agenda is our low-income housing tax credit and ORCA update. Kind of reference, we have done, a lot of engagement with community developers, other interested parties, but also have been and introduced last month the kind of primary tenant of the 4% and 9% low-income housing tax credits. Had built a survey to be able to get some information in addition to what we had gotten through engagement conversations. And heard pretty strongly from a few folks, very strongly last month, wanting to make sure that there was more time to give feedback to it. So we have right now published our qualified allocation plan, which incorporates those updates for public comment process. And then we'll have our staging it so that we will finalize that public comment process before we bring the overarching framework back to Housing Stability Council in January. So encourage everybody to check out both the frameworks, but also the qualified allocation plan draft that is published. And presumably we can, thank you, Kim. Kim is following it. So Kim has just put in the link to the page that has that draft QAP in it. What is also included in there is an update recommendation around the charges that we use for our conduit bond issuance. These were last updated, I want to say in like 2018, 2019. And so it's been quite a while since we had updated them. And really both the scale of our transactions are very different than they were 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and kind of where our fit is in the kind of market for those and what we are reliant on those resources for. So certainly would be, and so we have also, in conjunction with that broader public comment process, wanted to make sure that we had a good way to reliably track all comments and be able to respond and see them in aggregate. So you'll see the conduit charges that are proposed. There's that document that Kim is pointing to there on the website. And so, and generally that is kind of eliminating the cap on those charges is the primary update to them. And let's see, Sean, I see your question in the chat. The idea is that we will finalize our public comment process. I think it goes through December 30th or so. And have that finalized. And then at the January Housing Stability Council meeting, bring the final framework. There's some components that we have recommended that are updated within the ORCA to incorporate the tax credit, some pieces of that overall structure to incorporate tax credits into the ORCA get reflected in the QAP itself, and the rest of it is in the fund offering, essentially, which is the ORCA document and process. So we'll finalize the QAP through public comment processes, bring the final recommendation for the framework for that will work with that QAP or any revisions proposed to the QAP based on public comment or in response to public comment to Housing Stability Council in January, where we will seek approval for that overall framework, as well as the update to the conduit charges. And then we'll be able to move forward to have the governor sign the QAP in January. So I think that's a long way of answering that question, Shauna, which is to say, yes, we will be incorporating any response to public comments, and then we will be turning around to finalize the QAP in January with the aim of then opening resources through an updated ORCA and be able to offer tax credits and the remaining resources that we have to add. Any questions or comments around any of that from the Orca and LIHTC updates, Orca updates, or conduit charges?
Hey, Natasha, it's
Yeah.
Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
Hey, I think what Shauna was getting at also is if the comment period is open till the 31st, is Housing Stability Council the second Friday in January this because of the holiday?
I usually it is. I actually have posed that question. I haven't gotten the final answer, but it's not on our calendars right now for January 3rd, so I would believe it's on January 10th, and I should hopefully hear back to confirm that. But my working assumption is that it's not on the 3rd.
Okay, because yeah, just the sense that like I could provide a comment on the 31st and it would be thoughtfully considered and
Yeah.
incorporated by the 3rd feels a little like less
Absolutely,
likely.
yes. It is a quick turnaround. I think another piece of it, though, is also that it's really the governor that adopts the QAP, and so we will be tracking all comments, responding on them, and revising. And not all of the details in that QAP are going to be in the framework with I mean, I think there's both sides of that. So I think we are very much intending to earnestly engage in the feedback. I'm very, we're very interested in it, want to make sure that we are making the needed revisions. And also it is a different focus on the QAP. I think there's a lot of those pieces of, where it's using the ORCA as the funding mechanism. And so has a lot less as we were revising, the team's been revising the QAP, all of the detail, like the scoring. Anyway, there's much. I don't know how much you've consumed it, and over your Thanksgiving break. I'm sure everybody was reading it as they sat around eating pie. But anyway, yes. So I think that is a relatively quick turnaround. I do think we'll have an extra week there in that transition, and we will hopefully retain the schedule, but we'll only do so if we can meaningfully be responding to feedback. And I see Mitch, I see you have a comment. Did you want to offer your insight?
Yeah, just clarifying that, we will be responding to all public comment in writing in the QAP. We've done that in the past and are planning to do it this time as well. We'll have a table that includes all the, sorry, the camera's off, but yeah. We'll have a table on the back that shows public comment and how we responded to it or why we did not respond to it, essentially. So hopefully that helps with some of the concerns there too.
Thank you. And then I see Ryan's question in the chat, and yes, I think aiming for February, March. I mean, sooner rather than later, and again, want to make sure that we have all of the final updates incorporated. But yeah, I think in the first quarter, and not in January. Any other questions?
Natasha, I've got a question, but it's not necessarily related to what you just shared, but the governor's budget. And wondering
Sure, yeah.
if you're going to share anything there. I just kind of combed through and saw, looks like $880 million in Q bonds for Lyft. Can you share anything more about what things are going to look like for this? I mean, understanding that this is the governor's recommended budget and nothing
Yeah.
final yet, but would love to get any insights you have.
Absolutely. Yes. I see Tanisha here has popped onto the screen. I think queued up thank you for the wonderful transition, Paul, to the next thing, which is that the governor's recommended budget was published today. I think we had it the second it was published because there was some active refreshing of that webpage going on, largely by Tanisha. But yes, I think I think next we'll I'll hand it to her. Just for where we are in things, we have put together an agency request budget. The governor takes those from all of the agencies in all of the plans and creates a governor's recommended budget. That's what was published today. That will then go through legislative processes and land a legislatively adopted budget in, what is that, another months. So we're getting moving forward, and yes, and I think see very strong housing aligned investments, which is exciting to see. And I will maybe be quiet here for Tanisha to provide some additional insight.
Hi all, Tanisha Rosas. I do government relations for Oregon Housing and Community Services. And like Paul mentioned, there are some big numbers in the GRB, which we're really excited to see. I put 2 links in the chat. That is the governor's I don't want to misspeak on how does she phrase this. The priorities in the 2025 through 2027 GRB document. The priorities is the first link, and then the full GRB is the second link. We are taking time as an agency to make sure that before we publish anything out, that we're making sure that our numbers match the GRB and that everything is coordinated. But we are getting a lot of bonds. We are getting a lot of lift dollars, and we're getting a lot of lottery bonds for preservation per the GRB, just like Natasha mentioned. The legislature will decide what we actually get, but we do really appreciate, and we're excited that the governor has supported the work that the ARH team has been really focused on and expanding. And so once we gain a little bit more clarity, I was press and refresh because I was really trying to get all my documents. I was like, I could do this before the partner call. The answer is I'm not that fast, nor am I that talented. But those are the links. Those are the numbers that we will live by. But as soon as I am able to crunch some numbers and compare to the ARB and also just some other documents and things people have been asking for, we will make sure that we share that with y'all. But on that note, there is something that I can share that's almost approved. We, in addition to an agency's recommended budget, they will also have legislative concepts. And so we have some, and we by tomorrow afternoon, we'll hear final approval. So there is a little caveat that this hasn't been finally approved, but we're really close. We have one legislative concept that relates to the Affordable Rental Housing Division. There are other legislative concepts that our agency will have, and some of them are highlighted in the GRB. But for ARH, we are expanding what the Oregon Affordable Housing Tax Credit, our goal for the legislative concept, for what it would be allowed to be used for. So instead of just being able to use it for rent buy down and lowering rent costs, we also want to expand that to services. And so we hopefully I will be able to have 100% approval by tomorrow afternoon. But they said I could mention it today that legislative concept would be moving forward this next legislative session. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that it is almost approved. And if you have any questions or anything relating to the GRB or anything going into session, please never you can always reach out to me with any of those specific questions. But excited about the governor's trust of us and giving us those big numbers. And you'll get more information in a give me a couple weeks and I'll get that out to you.
Yes. Any other questions around that? It is a day of deep reading. It's not a short document.
I have a question.
Yes, hi,
This is Steph. Hey, is there any looking at with the lift funding to amend it to allow for 80% AMIs? Because as I understand it, lift can only go with 60 and under, but income averaging with LIHTC, you can go up to 80% on a blended basis, 60%. Are you trying to match that up?
Yeah, I mean, I think so there is no planned or statutory revision to lift. I think we are interested in finding ways. So the lift statute does highlight low income as 60%, AMI as the max for the rental pathway, and I think we are, actively working to find ways and strategies to allow income averaging to be a fit, but don't have that fully identified at this point in time. But I'm hoping, I think it is a priority for finding a solvent given the opportunity. And so I think not a final direction on that at this point, but something that we should be hopefully following up on probably as we get another layer of investment from the legislature.
Okay, so I think what you said is that there's no plan to amend it, but that's something you would like to look towards the future, I guess?
But I think what I'm curious to find are ways to allow income averaging in tax credit projects where lifts can still be a partner in that financing overall. But that I think we need to kind of restructure a little bit of the program side, and that is not something that we are at the point of being able to do.
Okay.
Hey, Natasha.
Yes, hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian Hoop, Housing Oregon. Since Tanisha's on the call, a couple weeks ago, Director Bell had mentioned that there might be a chance in the disaster recovery legislation at the federal level that maybe Senator Wyden's push for addressing private activity bonds, changing the test, might get squeezed in what failed last winter, spring. Have you heard, Tanisha, if that's still a possibility, or with the elections results on November 7th, that's all dashed?
I think I know Director Bell is in a lot of conversations right now with federal partners and a bunch of people in similar roles as herself. And so I think after this coming weekend, we should know more about what the reality of that fix coming down should look. But if you see me after this weekend, definitely ask again.
All right, thanks.
Holding out hope that the housing is a bipartisan issue is what might hopefully help that test. I do think that we did see in the governor's recommended budget that it was still recommending the 450 million of private activity bonds to OHCS, which is aligned with housing investments as a priority for PAB, which is great news.
Great news.
Great. Any other questions on this cold December day? All of a sudden my toes froze today to find my warmer clothes for the colder weather. Hey.
Natasha, this is Shelley. Sorry,
Oh, hey,
trying to
Shelley.
get things on. Hi. I'm going to be sending the apps team for Orca an email, but I just wanted to kind of put out to this group, hopefully others have had the same issue in regards to ORMEP and the fact that it's not aligned with Orca, which means a lot of times we can't do energy efficient measures because we need to know as part of the whole approval funding stack if it's there or not. Especially on our AC rehabs when we're dealing with RD, going through a change order process is very painful and takes a long time. So if we get money later and try to incorporate it into a scope of work, I mean, it just would be nice if it aligned so we knew upfront, you know, what we're getting. And also when you do a portfolio transaction, we've gotten some pushback from staff that they won't let us apply for the, you know, the incentive, the money when we finish a project. They want all the projects to be done. And so that delays getting the money to pay for some of those measures versus when a project's completed and we verified the measures, why can't we get that portion of the money? So I'll send you an email with some of the rationale and the reasonings, and maybe it's something you guys could look at.
Yeah,
because we're missing
absolutely.
out on energy efficient measures because of the timing.
Yeah. Thank you for flagging that, and yeah, please do send the details because I think the details help, as you know, build the understanding of where it's kind of disconnected, and is also anyway, makes sense because we haven't updated that flow with ORMAP since we created ORCA, and so maybe there are some other opportunities. I think the places where ORMEP was tied up in projects not moving forward. Now we've redesigned the Orca, so maybe there's a good opportunity there to revisit that. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Shelley. Awesome.
Well, I was just gonna jump on here too, since it seems we may not have any additional questions. Just wanted to flag, as Natasha mentioned earlier, think about the January Housing Stability Council date when we find out if it's that first week, that first Friday in January, if it's the second Friday, we can send out a message because the next partner call will depend on that. So we will communicate out to you once we have that calendaring figured out so that you know how to track with us for the next partner call. We'll update our website with that information as well. And then in terms of additional engagement happening in January, we know we will be doing some ORCA related changes and updates, and we will have some opportunities for engagement in January around the ORCA updates. And we are trying to build out an engagement calendar for 2025, whether we will have that at the January partner call or shortly after that. We want to have a forecast for you so you know where to plug in throughout at least the first half of next year, knowing that things will change and we'll have the need for some additional engagement after the session is over as well. So just wanted to pop on here and let folks know we'll communicate out about when the next partner call is based on when that Housing Stability Council agenda and date is finalized. All right.
Okay. I guess with that, we can wrap up for this afternoon. And yeah, thank you all. Enjoy your GRE reading and your council packet reading, or you can wait for the Reader's Digest version. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks all. Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye.